Yeah, hi.
Hey, I'm here for the video. So I want to look around the studio, is it okay?
Sure, take a look.
All right, great. Is everything going to be in the show, in the studio?
I don't know, some of this stuff is 20, 30 years old, some of it's 2 weeks old. No, it's not all going to be in the show.
So tell me, what is in the show?
Well, actually, there's 3 things in the show. There's paintings of churches, paintings of gardens, and a painting of war. I've always felt that Picasso's Guernica is one of the great anti-war paintings in the history of art. And yet at the same time, I've kind of also always felt that if I were doing it, I think I might do it a little differently. One day I was messing around when I was learning Photoshop, and I scanned in the image, started to do some changes to it on the computer, and anyhow, through many versions on the computer, with copies that I worked on by hand in paint and pencil and charcoal, and then photographed and went back to the computer. Anyhow, this is where I ended up. I think it's a little bit different from the original painting, a little more organic, a little less cubist, a little less geometric. You know, I think this section right in here, right at the core of the painting where the figures have fused, where indeed I think their organs, their flesh and their blood seem to be one and the same, seem to connect you. I think I found a good metaphor for the suffering that these people felt at the indiscriminate civilian bombing by the fascist dictator Franco in 1937 in the Spanish Civil War. The paintings of the garden are based on a garden that I've been working on outside my house for the better part of 8 or 10 years. The essence of the garden is that there's a progression from a small circle to a medium-sized circle to a larger circle. A sort of growth cycle thing. I think when you see the images of the garden in the paintings, it'll make a little more sense. I think you can see that this is actually of the third and largest circle in the garden. And I think in all of these, what I've done is to take the framework, the structure, the superstructure of the garden and make it the superstructure of the painting. But then when I get to painting the light, the color, the flesh and the blood again, the leaves, the grass, the trees, the branches, I've made them into different shapes, different rhythms, different movement than we see in nature. So this is my combination, this is my personal idiom of expressionism and realism. Here we are with the churches. You know, actually we haven't completely left the garden because the garden is inside the church. The columns sort of serve as a gateway to enter an inner or a private world. So I think we recede deeper and deeper and deeper till we get to the altar. And from that point the energy, instead of going in and perhaps down a little bit, it starts to ascend heavenward. And I think ultimately this whole movement of energy and form there has the feeling of revelation, which obviously the circle sun symbol at the top is the finale too.
Churches, wars, and gardens. What do they all have in common?
A few years ago, I was working on these images that had some very complex patterns that I wanted to repeat, smaller and smaller. And it became technically more challenging and eventually impossible. I decided that I needed to learn Photoshop and, get with the modern world. So, they are all combinations of traditional imagery and digital imagery. And indeed, all the images are actually either oil pastel or acrylic paint over a digital image.